You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
Looking for a great way to serve in 2022. If you're a young adult, we got to figure out exactly what is a young adult. I don't think I qualify anymore.
I don't think one of us qualifies. I think that's
We're going to find out what that means in just a little bit and how young adults can serve at the LCMS National Youth Gathering in 2022 in Houston. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
Joining us today, we have Esther Dunlop. She's serving on the planning committee and former LCMS National Youth Gathering Young Adult Volunteer, or YAV, as we know them. Esther, thanks so much for joining us on The Coffee Hour.
Thank you for having me join.
Also joining us today, Rachel Hillman, Young Adult Volunteer Planning Committee as well. Rachel, thanks so much for being our guest on The Coffee Hour.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So I want to learn a little bit more about what got you interested in being young adult volunteers and serving in that way with the LCMS National Youth Gathering. We'll start with you, Esther.
I enjoyed going to the gathering as a youth, and then I really valued the community aspect and the friends that I made. So that when one of my friends suggested I volunteer, I signed up right away. And I am so thankful that I did, because I had an awesome experience as a YAV.
Mm-hmm. Rachel, what about you? How did you get involved?
Very similar to Esther. So I went to the youth gathering twice as a youth, actually. And when I was had just graduated, I was on my own looking for a way to serve the church and give back to what the church had given me when I was a youth. So I became a YAV in that. And then I've actually been blessed to, this is my third time being on the planning team working with the YAVs.
So who actually is a young adult volunteer? Because I really want to know if either of us would actually qualify.
For sure. So a young adult volunteer is anyone between the ages of 18 and 25.
Oh, that's neither of us.
That excluded me a long time ago.
So what is the role of one of these volunteers?
So these volunteers who are 18 to 25, but we ask that they've completed a year of college first, they volunteer in so many different aspects of the gathering. So you can see them when you're looking at the different sessions, and they'll guide people, they'll answer questions. They're also going to help with different interactive games and activities.
So, yeah, let's dig into that more. Sarah and I got to go to the National Youth Gathering in 2019 in Minneapolis and see so many of the YAVs serving in all over the gathering in so many places. And I'm sure many places we didn't even see because we were on the floor so much in the convention hall so much of the time that I'm sure there were YAVs serving all over the place that we didn't get to see. Can you identify some of those places or ways that YAVs get to serve throughout the National Youth Gathering?
Yes, they are most identified with the orange shirts. And so as you probably saw, you were probably on the interactive floor. And so those are the people who are with the various activities. And that's what I served as. And I think Rachel can speak into the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So you'll also see them at mass events. That's actually where I was serving when I was a YAV. So making sure people were safe, making sure people were finding seats. But we really call the YAVs the hands and feet of the gathering. So they're really in every single aspect. Almost every team will have a YAV helping with them, anywhere from on-site servant events to off-site servant events, so traveling to different places. You'll see them directing traffic in the convention center, helping with the sessions. Really everywhere. Like I said, the hands and feet of the gathering, making sure that everything runs smoothly.
And being in a role like this is really fun. If you like to be someone that's involved in at another level on one of these conferences or things that you get to go to, it's so fun to be a part of it on that level, to be able to kind of be a little bit of the behind the scenes, to kind of know what goes on behind. And then both of you are now on planning committees too, which is really awesome. Continuing that legacy of the YAVs, moving on into those more planning roles. So for these YAVs, you mentioned all of these different responsibilities. What kind of skill sets do these YAVs have in order to be successful in all of these different roles?
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
Go ahead, Rachel.
I would say number one, they need to love Jesus and love all of God's people. I think that's the most important thing. But honestly, every single skill set is needed. I think that's the most beautiful thing about the body of Christ is that every skill set can be used to serve him. So no matter what your skills are, whether you're a super outgoing person, you want to be front and center and want to yell into the crowd and get people motivated, you have a spot for you. If you want to be behind the scenes and helping with the media team behind the camera or helping in like crisis center, there's a spot for you there too. So no matter what God's skills has given you, there's a spot for you as a YAV.
What does... I lost my train of thought. I was blinded by the orange shirts.
So exciting.
That happens.
Yes.
Well, let's dig into that. What's the story behind the... Oh, okay. I thought of my other question. So now I've got two questions and I'm just going to have to ask them in a row. Okay. So what's it like? You mentioned directing traffic. A national youth gathering can be a village of like 20,000 people, a temporary village of like 20,000 people. What's it like directing traffic for like 20,000 people, like at the mass events in the stadium or the arena? What's it like directing traffic for something like that?
It's a little bit crazy, but it's organized chaos for sure. So we always have a plan before we go into it. I think the most important thing is to make sure that people are excited. So yes, you have to direct people. And so we have a plan on where you go, whether it's crossing the street or walking in the right locations inside the stadium. So there's always a plan. But the biggest thing is just getting people pumped up and excited as they're walking into the venue or walking throughout the city.
And we like to say that the YAVs are fun, friendly, and flexible. So there will always be a plan in place, but the YAVs are trained to be able to change that plan in a moment's notice if needed.
I would add to that a fourth F, and that would be fluorescent. What's with the whole orange nation, the bright orange shirts? Well, we are not based off of the fruit. We are orange, I think mainly because somebody liked the color orange, and it is a vibrant color because we are ready to help. We want people to be able to know who they can come to easily for help. So if somebody sees somebody in orange, know that you can go to them and ask them a question. If they don't know the answer, then they will go find someone else who can help.
Absolutely. And with that, not only are they in orange shirts, but we also like to encourage orange flair. So you may see orange cowboy hats and orange tutus or knee-high socks, whatever helps to make them stand out even more so that, as Esther said, people can feel comfortable going up to them, know where to find them, and to get any questions answered that they might have.
That is a very nice thing when you're literally in a city full of all of these people and you're walking. I remember in Minneapolis walking through the city and you knew when you were getting close to the convention hall because the people in orange, everything were starting to direct you where to go. And it is such a great thing to have, to know that those people are there as well for the participants, to know that there's people who do know what's actually happening and supposed to happen and have a plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about, and I don't know if you're going to touch on this later, but the cool thing, we call ourselves Orange Nation because we're not just young adult volunteers at the National Youth Gathering. We're Orange Nation, and we do stuff all year long, even on off years of the gathering. So we have social media that we are tagged into so we can continue the community throughout the other years, not just a gathering year. And we obviously couldn't do anything last year, but in the off years of the gathering, there is usually an Orange Nation servant event as well. So the friends that you made at the youth gathering, you can meet up with them. It's like little reunions every other year so that you can get together and still continue to serve as Orange Nation as a whole.
What does that mean for these young people to have that kind of community, being able to serve together, but then also having that community, like you were talking about, that continues after the gathering is over?
It's really nice so that they know that they are not alone in their faith journey. So you develop these friendships that hopefully will last a lifetime, with people to encourage you and pour into you and continue to speak the gospel to you. And then you can do that to other people that you meet there as well.
So what have been some of your favorite memories serving an Orange Nation? What are some of the things that you've enjoyed at the gathering? I know there are memories from getting together in between as well. Favorite memories from the gathering serving on Orange Nation or Young Adult Volunteer?
Yeah, well, for me, I told you I served as in the mass events when I was a YAV, and I love the event aspect of everything. I like seeing the behind the scenes. So my favorite thing was probably being in the stadium and just waiting for all the students and the participants and the adult volunteers to come in, and just the energy that they brought into the arena as soon as they walked into the building was so cool. And I get chills every time I think about it. I get chills every time I get to experience it. So even outside of being now on the planning team, I still get that same feeling every single time. So I think that's probably one of my favorite memories for sure.
And I hear that all of the time, that people love seeing the number of people at the mass events. I volunteered on the interactive floor, so I actually really like that area. I was in a Say Anything booth, and a lot of people used that to talk through their experiences. And it was in that moment that they realized that God had been there through every experience of their lives, and that he will continue to be with them. So it was really neat to be a part of the experience of them realizing that God is with them.
We're learning about young adult volunteers at the LCMS National Youth Gathering, and applications are open for the 2022 National Youth Gathering. We can learn more about that in just a moment. You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
You're a miracle. You know that, right? A living, breathing, one-of-a-kind miracle. You were created to stand apart, to share your gifts in the service of others, to make an uncommon impact in a common world. And at Concordia University, it's our mission to help you do that, to live uncommon. To learn more about Concordia, go to cuw.edu.
Welcome back to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
We're learning about opportunities for young adult volunteers to serve at the LCMS National Youth Gathering, and Sarah and I are already rolled out because we're too old. We're too old for that. But we're talking with the members of the planning committee for the LCMS National Youth Gathering, focusing on young adult volunteers. Applications are open for that right now. And so we want to learn more about how young adult volunteers can serve at the LCMS National Youth Gathering. Today, we're talking with Esther Dunlop. She serves on the planning committee, and Rachel Hillman, also serving on the planning committee for this 2022 gathering taking place in Houston in July 2022. I'm so excited.
Soon.
Yeah, I know. It's less than a year away. Is Orange Nation ready? No?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always ready.
We get
Yes.
Applications are open. So tell us about what it takes to become part of Orange Nation, to become a YAV, or a young adult volunteer for the LCMS National Youth Gathering. Obviously, there's an application process to that. And so walk us through that application, but all the way up through like training and orientation and what happens as a volunteer at LCMS National Youth Gathering.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go onto the LCMS Gathering website. There's a volunteer section. So if you click on the volunteer section, you'll see young adult volunteer information there. You can also go and follow the LCMS Gathering Instagram and Facebook pages, because application information is also there. So there is an application that you'll need to fill out. Everyone also needs to have a reference. So make sure that you have someone, either a pastor or a youth minister, youth leader from your past that you know very well, that can speak to how you work with others and how you work as a volunteer. And then pretty much we'll go through applications. Applications are open, like you said, right now, and they'll close December 31st. And then we'll make sure that we communicate if they're coming or not in March, I believe. And then the gathering is in July. Once you get accepted as a youth or as a young adult volunteer, we actually do have some online training that we'll do to kind of get our hearts and our minds ready for the gathering, so that when you arrive, you have a little bit of an understanding as to what's happening and what you kind of are getting into. And then we arrive about a day and a half early so that we have a full day of training, getting ready for, not only do we do training as YAVs, just as our own identity, learning who we are, learning that we're all fun, friendly, and flexible, like Esther said earlier. But then you'll go into your specific area and you'll do training in that specific spot as well. And then we welcome all the youth.
So we talked a little bit about the age restrictions. Who actually is eligible to apply? Are there any other things that people need to know for eligibility?
No, not really. If you're 18 to 25 and you love Jesus, apply.
Yes. We do ask that you've been out of high school for a year so that you can actually enjoy the experience as a participant when you have that opportunity, because there will always be times for you to apply as a volunteer in the future. And then if you are out of that category to be a young adult volunteer, you can always apply to be a part of Team Flex, which is a new opportunity that is flexible with their volunteers. And that is for anyone 19 and older who want to volunteer anywhere between 1 and 5 days of the gathering. And they can volunteer between 4 and 8 hours per day. You do have to cover your own costs, though, for that, except for registration. So you'll have to figure out where you're going to stay and how you're going to get there on your own. But it's a great opportunity for those who can only make it to part of the gathering or who are out of that age range.
So you mentioned covering expenses. What are the expenses, responsibilities, things that the YAV volunteers are responsible for or should expect?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Esther.
Okay. YAVs should expect to pay the registration fee of $395, which also covers housing. And then YAVs also need to pay for travel and food. And we encourage congregations to support the YAVs or for them to do fundraising in order to be able to come, because we don't want money to be the reason someone doesn't come to the gathering.
So YAVs are responsible for getting themselves there and also registration, which you mentioned includes lodging while you're there. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. All the YAVs will stay in one location. That way we're all kind of together. And then it continues to build that community as well. So not only do you get to work together, but then you'll stay together as well.
Is it like a giant orange tent, or do you paint the hotel orange?
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. And I wish that was the case. I think we would all love that.
There's your idea for 2022.
Perfect.
I don't need credit for it, though.
Oh, we'll give you credit. Don't worry.
Application. Where are applications? How do you do that application? You mentioned earlier to do an application and letter of reference as well.
Yes.
Tell us more about the application.
Yep. So you can find it online at the LCMS Gathering website.
And you can also just type in lcmsgathering.com/volunteer/ and that'll take you right to the application. And so when you fill that out, you will also plug in your reference and their email. So then they will get a separate email to fill out your reference.
So both of you have served in previous gatherings, and this is the first time the gathering is going to Houston. What are you looking forward to about Houston? Have you been learning about Houston? How familiar are you with the site for this gathering?
We've both been to Houston, and I am really excited to experience this city. I think it's exciting that we get to have the mass events in the stadium, because who doesn't want to go to a baseball stadium for a mass event? And then there's also this really beautiful park that we're going to have access to, so people can meet in different small groups throughout the park. And I think that'll be a great way to get some fresh air and to revisit some of the topics that they would have talked about at the gathering.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with Esther. I'm excited to experience something new, to explore. And I think that's one of my favorite things about going to a new city, even traveling on my own, is just exploring the area and getting to know the people there. And then, yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge baseball fan. So having the mass events at Minute Maid is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that is a very, very cool thing to be in the baseball stadium for the mass events. What have you been learning about the theme for this coming gathering?
So this theme is in all things, which is taken from Colossians. So as Orange Nation, we have been going through verse by verse of Colossians every week. So it's been a really good experience to learn about what God is telling the people then and what he's also telling us.
Well, we are certainly looking forward to. We're hoping to be there as well, to be a part of the LCMS National Youth Gathering in 2022. This is really exciting to see about volunteering opportunities. You mentioned earlier Team Flex. This is a new opportunity. Adults have served in a variety of ways beyond young adults at gatherings in the past. Team Flex being a new thing. Is the application for that in the same location at lcmsgathering.com/volunteer?
Yes, that is. And then you would just scroll down and then you'll be able to find it.
Anything else that we need to know about Team Flex? I know this is kind of a new opportunity. So you find that application on the website. And I gather, so what if someone applies for young adult volunteer and that doesn't work out for them? Can they then later apply for Team Flex?
Yes. And I have to correct myself. The Team Flex registration will be available later online. So yes, if they don't sign up on time to be a YAV, they can apply to be on Team Flex. But I highly recommend that if you are of the age to be a young adult volunteer, to apply, because we'd rather have you in the system. And then if something comes up, you talk to us about it, than not have you in the system at all.
Absolutely. So if you're thinking about it, apply. And then if something doesn't work out, if plans change, then we can always talk through what options are there. But if you're even remotely thinking about it, we encourage everyone to apply to be a young adult volunteer.
Does it improve your chances if you are like wearing all orange and send a picture of that when you apply? Does that improve your chances of being accepted as a young adult volunteer for Orange Nation?
Yes, absolutely.
Says that totally seriously.
We take our orange very seriously.
I can tell. LCMSgathering.com/volunteer/ and you can find more information there to learn more about serving as a young adult volunteer with the LCMS National Youth Gathering 2022 in Houston. Esther, Rachel, anything else you'd like for us to know about Orange Nation in preparation for 2022?
It's awesome, and you should encourage everyone that you know to sign up for it.
I 100% agree. I encourage everyone to apply. I think the most exciting thing about being a young adult volunteer is making it a big reunion and getting forward to seeing friends and making new friends and seeing the excitement that a believer of Jesus can have.
Mm-hmm.
Our guest today, Esther Dunlop, LCMS National Youth Gathering Planning Committee for Young Adult Volunteers. Thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thank you.
And Rachel Hillman, Young Adult Volunteer Planning Committee for the 2022 Gathering. Thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour.
Thank you guys so much.
You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.